sugar yeast connection, why it's important to know these things, the questions to ask, why it's such, more of a bigger problem than people think. But candida promoting foods to avoid. So these are ones you want to be more conscious of. They provide fuel for candida to thrive. So we should be careful to avoid consuming too much of them in your diet. And those would include high sugar fruits, such as ripe bananas, dates, fruit juice, like the higher concentrations and higher amounts over longer extended periods of time. Grapes, again, everything in moderation, but again, the glutinous grains, even the non-gluten ones, you sort of have to be careful of, but glutinous grains, barley, rye, and wheat, in higher amounts. Meats like pork and lunch meat with the higher sodium. You also want to be aware of like meat when it's in terms of overconsumption. Hold on. Like where it's processed. That's where I'm going with that. Like you want the meat coming from better environments than where they're coming from. But fish like tuna and swordfish, which higher in magnesium. Some dairy products, such as cheese, milk, the moldy nuts, as pistachio and seeds. Condiments with added sugars, refined and processed vegetable oils, sugars, and sugar substitutes. Caffeinated and or sugary drinks, alcoholic drinks as well. So again, we need to have a balance or consciousness, awareness of how much we're putting in, and balancing that out so there's not, too much. And then I talked about that, the upper and lower chakras, and then the middle point. I had a little diagram. But we have, this is something that I wrote down. There's fungal, bacterial, and viral. So fungal is the internal, it is the influence. Bacterial is the external, the influence and internal. Viral is external influence. With integration of fungal, internal, it can eventually, with integration of like the fungal internalness, it can eventually rewire and take over, redirecting energy and its communication, blocks and obstacles, and can be used to soothe the remedy. So again, it can be used in many different manners, where it can be beneficial to you and when it can be unbeneficial to you, when you don't know the way, when you don't know the pathway, when you don't know how to soothe and find that remedy. But cancer, given its own entity of all three, fungal, bacterial, viral, that's why harder to classify for slight mutations or carry over genes, product of gene splicing. So with that, I guess we got time for a rune while I'm here. We have this one, and this is a beautiful rose quartz. I don't want to say the name wrong. Elgiz, I thought so. Elg, and I, again, could be saying it wrong, but this is like the spear, the arrow, or the joy of the upwards motion not being fooled by illusion, being protective, warding off unwanted energy, being on guard with, but knowing of the divine protection, the divine connection that is within and that it is in around you, trusting in what is happening. Let's see what else is with this. In the Garden of Eden, is that song? I was looking at it, but I was looking at it sideways. Or it is sideways on here. Like, I always want to look at it this way, but it's this way. So again, a thing of opposites. You may be seeing it this way, but in reality it's trying to show you something different. So this is the daybreak, this is the dawn, this is the blessings. And for some it's like after a storm. I don't want to say the calm before the storm, but after the storm. Balance, renewal, and enlightenment. Let's get one more rune and then we have time for some cards. Oh, we have Odin's rune. This is the wild rune. This is the blank rune. And with this, again, you have the consciousness and knowingness of knowing all the possibilities and outcomes and feelings, and it's like putting things into perspective, but really shifting the outcome for the better, really connecting to love, to transformation. That jumped right at me. To the heart, really, to the health of self, and not only yourself but of others, and the actions and reactions that we have, being artful while being creative and expressive, learning to express ourselves but not doing that impulsively or too much. So this may not have to do with fungi, but this is our collective message. Again, can relate many different ways. Ambition and drive. It affects our ambition and drive within self. And, sometimes we need to, again, put those things in perspective and turn them around and actually see them for what they are, or actually put them in perspective, to face these things, to take the time to reflect on these things, to have that inner calmness and knowingness. There's Odin right there. Wisdom, poetry, and language. Learning how to communicate our feelings to each other, to ourselves, to our bodies, again, without having that outer external part where we throw too much at it, or we're overthinking, being chaotic, and we're learning to center that aging, that maturing, that healing, that betterment for self and enlightenment for all.